Okay, so for today, we're going to discuss the embryonic period, the gut tube, and body cavities. So this is directly after the third week of development. Okay, so ayan. First would be our objectives, of course, no? So objective for this lecture would be discuss the derivatives of ectodermal, mesodermal, and endodermal germ layer. Last week, we were able to discuss yung a glimpse of those derivatives. But today, we're going to be more specific with the derivatives. Recognize the external appearance during the second month. Okay? So, kasi diba, we're done with the third week, tapos going fourth week. Alright, so we are entering the second month of the pregnancy. Next, you should know how to determine the resulting medical conditions to abnormal development during 3rd to 8th week period. Yung embryonic period kasi natin, it covers 3rd to 8th week period. Alright? Kaya ang i-cover natin today would be those weeks. Okay? So, dito, medyo mabagal na yung development. Before, mga magkaiba yung development ni day 8, kay day 9, kay day 11 and 12. Okay? But here, medyo mas mabagal siya ng konti. Okay, discuss the common medical conditions that was caused by abnormal development of gut tube and body cavities. So aside from the abnormal development ng 3rd to 8th week, medyo hiniwalay natin or mas nag-specify tayo when it comes to the gut tube and body cavities. Okay. And of course, kung i-cover natin si gut tube and body cavities, you should also know how to discuss the formation of the body cavity, serous membrane, thoracic cavity, and diaphragm. So, isang kasi yan. Alright? Isang development yung mga yan. Alright. So, the embryonic period. Ito yung sinasabi natin na period of organogenesis. When we say genesis, it means creation. So, your embryonic period is called organogenesis because this is the period where your organs are developed. So, yun yung important part ng 3rd to 8th week natin. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo talaga, as mentioned before sa mga nakalipas nating lectures, the first trimester is very critical. Kasi dito, mas maraming pwedeng maging birth defect kapag mayroong abnormalities na nangyari. So again, 3rd to 8th week siya. During your embryonic period, germ layers give rise to several specific tissue organs. Okay? Several specific tissue organs. Alright? So, by the end of the embryonic period, the main organ systems have been established. Okay? Rendering the major features of the external body form recognizable by the end of the second month. By the end of second month, medyo recognizable na. At least for these major organ systems. Okay, first, let's discuss the derivatives of ectoderm. Okay, ectoderm. Yan. So this is very familiar pa dapat, Kasi last week lang, we just had a discussion about your notochord. Okay? So if you're going to observe, the black one, notochord, endoderm, the yellow one. Okay? Mesoderm, we have yung pink, and then ectoderm, yung blue. Okay? So if we look at the dito. If we look at the, kumbaga parang ito yung transverse view. Okay? Nakatingin lang tayo sa taas. Okay? This is the transverse view. This is how it looks like. Okay? But if we're going to look at the superior view, gonna look like this, no? So, kumbaga, yung kanina, okay, drawing lang tayo. Yung kanina kasi, what we're looking at is a slice of this one. Okay, kumbaga, kumuha tayo ng slice dyan. Alright, and then we look at it, no? Ng okay, ganitong view. Okay, so yan yung slice. Ito yan. Alright? So, again, no, primitive streak, nandito, ibig sabihin, this is the caudal area, while this one is the cephalic area. Okay? Clear lang natin yung drawing. Okay? By 19th day, alright, no, your neural tube, no, tatawagin na kasi natin siyang neural tube, beginning these days, alright? Meron kayong makitang umbok here. That's your neural plate. Alright? Neural plate. While the depression here is your neural groove. Okay? The depression at the center is your neural groove. Okay? So, medyo ano pa tayo. This is coming from the third week pa, patapos pa lang yung third week dito, no? Medyo nag-form na siya ng ganyan. As mentioned last week din, no? Again, ang formation or development, no, would be in cephalocaudal direction. Kaya, kung makikita nyo, mas may development na dito sa taas kaysa sa baba. Okay? So, we have what we call your neurulation. So, last week, no, we discussed gastrulation and formation of notochord. Okay? This week naman, no, ang matututunan nyo naman would be the neurulation or the process whereby the neural plate, okay, from a neural plate, magiging neural tube na siya. No? So, yung nakita nyo kanina sa picture. Okay? At the third week, the lateral edges form a neural fold, okay, that gradually fuse at the midline para maging tube siya. Alright? Kumbaga, okay, the edges here, no, this one, the lateral edges of your neural plate, alright, they will somehow approximate and form a neural fold and form at the midline. Okay, fuse at the midline, sorry, no, to form your neural tube. Okay. Now, the fusion begins cranially and then caudally because, again, the development is cephalocaudal. No? Mauuna muna yung head, followed by the legs. So, neural tube forms as a result of your neurulation. So, I'm gonna show you a neurulation video. So, wala tong, wala tong audio. I'm just gonna show you the video itself. And then, I'm gonna discuss a little bit, no? Kasi, the accent ni video taker, medyo, struggle siya maintindihan because of the accent. Okay? Alright, no? So, this is a clearer picture. Alright? We have here, okay, wait lang Yan. We have here, no, the superior view. Alright? Okay? So, in here, no, this is the slice. And this is how it looks like. Yung slice na yan. Okay? So, this is at
holding a
day 20. Wait lang. Yan. So, day 20 siya. Okay, and then, remember, this is your neural plate. This is the neural groove. Alright? Since it will somehow form a curving. Alright? It will form this one, neural fold. Okay? Neural fold. Alright? So, the neural groove will remain as a neural groove. The neural fold, no? Ayan. Ito siya. So, sa una, no, it would be a little lower than that. And then, as days go by, alright, as days pass by, alright, medyo tataas ng tataas yung fold. Okay? Up until the folds, alright, fuse. Okay? The folds will fuse. Okay? So, this is your day 22. Alright? If we're going to observe, no, ma'am, sabi nyo kasi cephalocaudal yung direction ng development. Pero bakit po mas naunang nag-fuse yung gitna rather than the cephalic part of the neural tube? Okay? That is because, no, it's part of the it's part of the development. Alright? Mauuna talaga yung gitna because there is a determined day for the closing of the neuropore here. We call it your neuropore, and closing of this one. So we have the cephalic neuropore and then the caudal neuropore. So meron silang tamang closing talaga. So kaya ganyan siya. Okay? Yeah. So, by day 22, it would look like this. Okay? Ayan. Alright? Meron kayong bagong makikita dito. This one. The circle, small circles here. That's your neural crest. Okay? Kita ba? Alright? Those are your neural crest cells. Alright? Neural crest cells. I will show you another video. Yung medyo mas basic ng konti. Ito kasi pang ano to. May kasamang konting biochem. So, yung video na to. Alright? So, kung ano yung babanggitin ko, yun yung aralin nyo. So, this one, neural crest cells. No? Kung nyo napansinin niya si roof tsaka si floor plate. Not that important. Okay? Okay? So, neural crest cells. Yung video na to, medyo may konting biochem. So, medyo skip na natin yung mga part na yan. Okay, next. Alright? So, slice ulit dito. Okay? So, yung nakita nyong parang, ito, yung white here, those are your somites. Okay? Those are your somites. Ayan, no? Medyo mas distinct na dito yung neural crest cells. Alright? Your neural crest cells. And then your neural tube here. So, what happens is that, okay, your neural tube will form, no? Kasi diba, they are formed out of the ectoderm. Yung, diba, we had the neural fold. Okay? And then the folds, no, nag-meet lang sila, alright, to form the tube. So, more likely, the neural crest, the neural fold, the neural tube itself, they are made out of the ectoderm, yung pinaka-taas natin na layer. That's why, di ba, as we learned last week, all of the ectoderm will form your entire nervous system. Now, your neural tube mainly will form your CNS, meaning the brain and spinal cord. Okay? Brain and spinal cord. While your neural crest cells naman, okay, will form the peripheral nervous system. Okay? The nerves, no, to your peripherals. Alright? Yan naman kay neural crest cells. Okay? Ito, wag na to. Okay. Actually, ang inano lang kasi dito, ni-reimagine lang yung pag-form ng neural tube, no? This is your notochord, alright? This is your ectoderm. Okay? Yan. So, nag-form lang siya ng ganyan. This is your forming neural tube. Okay? Ayan, no? Neural tube. Okay, this one, no, you have to be familiar with this one. I think, nadaanan nyo na rin to during your ANAFI, no? The embryonic brain regions. Okay? Ito yun, yung mga, yung color-coded tayo, no? Ayan. So, forebrain, ito siya. Midbrain, the green one. Hindbrain would be the yellow one. Telencephalon, ito siya. And diencephalon. Mesencephalon, actually si mesencephalon, madaling tandaan. Alright? Because it's just gonna be the midbrain. Okay? All throughout, no? Midbrain lang talaga siya. Si green. Alright? Your telencephalon will later on form your cerebrum. Okay? When we say cerebrum, yun yung commonly they term as the brain itself. Okay? So, cerebrum. Okay? And then diencephalon, which is part of the cerebrum, embedded inside the cerebrum is your thalamus. Okay? Thalamus. And then midbrain, ito siya. For the hindbrain, we have the metencephalon. Metencephalon. So, we have pons and cerebellum. So, pons and cerebellum, somewhere here. Yan. And then, medulla oblongata would be here. Okay? Yan, yung pababa. Medulla oblongata. Okay? So, hindi lang kita si pons, but it's gonna be directly under the midbrain. Okay? So, may pons dito, banda dapat. Maliit lang kasi yon. And then, we also have the cerebellum. Okay? And then here, your medulla oblongata or the myencephalon. Okay? Myencephalon. Okay? Okay. No? So, this is just another video para lang mas ma-make sure natin that you can understand it easily. Okay? So, this is the overall process, okay, ng neurulation. Okay? So, we started from here last week. Okay? So, isa-isahin natin yung mga yan. Alright? Okay. So, here's the step-by-step. Alright? So, first, no, this is your ectoderm, mesoderm, and the endoderm. Okay. So, there's your notochord. This is the neural plate. Alright, the neural plate. Now, it will somehow, no, have that depression. Alright, which will form your neural groove. Okay. So, again, no, we have the neural folds. This is the neural groove. This is the folds. This is the groove. Okay. The neural folds will keep moving closer up until, no, mag-fuse sila to form your neural tube. Okay, ayan, no. So, those are your hinges, no. Once they touch each other, okay, magkakaroon ng merging. Alright? Again, no, ito yung parang residue. Okay? And here's your neural tube. Okay? And the violet clay here will become your neural crest cells. Okay? Okay. So again, no, neural tube, brain and spinal cord, while the neural crest cells will form your peripheral nervous system. Okay. Peripheral nervous system. So that would be your neurulation. Sige. Balik tayo sa PowerPoint. Okay. So, we're back with this picture, no? So, again, no, tinatawag nating anterior neuropore or cephalic neuropore or cranial neuropore. Itong nasa taas. Okay? Yung nasa taas. While the one below would be your posterior neuropore or your caudal neuropore. Okay? Posterior neuropore or caudal neuropore. Kanina sabi natin no, merong determined day for it to close, no? So dahil nga mauuna palagi, no, si cephalic, no, it will close at day 25, approximately day 25. While the cephalic neuropore, no, will close by day 28. Okay? Day 28. All right? So, during this time, no, around day 24 to 28, these are the time also that when the heart begins to beat in the 4th week of development. Okay? The villus system is ready to supply the embryo properly with essential nutrients and oxygen. Okay? Hanggat hindi nagko-close, alright? Hanggat hindi nagko-close si neuropore and si anterior neuropore and posterior neuropore, they will continuously communicate with the amniotic cavity. No? Amniotic cavity. Pero pag nag-close na yan, alright? Ayun. Okay? Meron pa ring dun pa lang mag-e-end, no? Yung communication with your cephalic and caudal ends. Okay? Ayan. Next. So, day 25, again, no, dun yung closure ng cranial neuropore. No? Kung makikita ninyo, alright, parang ito rin yung picture kanina dun sa yung mga forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain natin. No? So, ito lang din siya. Naiba lang ng picture or ng coloring. Alright? Ayan. Day 28, no, as you can see, closing of the posterior neuropore. Okay, so the structures formed, no, from your ectodermal layer would be your CNS, cranial, your central nervous system, your peripheral nervous system, and aside from that, no, also your epidermis. Okay? Epidermis. No, dadagdagan natin. Okay? Epidermis, the enamel of teeth, and the mammary glands. Finally, would be your pituitary glands. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yan. Yung 6 na yan. Alright? For your ectodermal layer. No? May mga konting add-ons tayo. Next would be your mesoderm. Okay? Mesoderm, during the 17th day, alright, medyo babalik tayo ng konti. Your cells will proliferate at the midline, no? Forming your paraxial mesoderm. And the mesoderm layer remains thin laterally, no? Which will be your lateral lip. Okay, again ha, cells will proliferate at midline, forming your paraxial mesoderm, while laterally, it will remain thin, called your lateral plate. So, it would look like this. Okay, so that's your paraxial mesoderm, yung nasa gitna, medyo makapal. The thin layer would be your lateral mesoderm. Okay, the one at the middle, okay, kasi each side yan eh, hatiin natin siya sa gitna. So, we have paraxial here, intermediate, and then the lateral. Again, dito naman, paraxial, yung pinakamakapal, and then at the middle, intermediate, and then sa lateral would be the lateral lip. Yan. Alright. So, kung naalala nyo pa, no, ito. Yung drawing na yan is your neural tube. Okay? The paraxial, yung medyo makapal, no, this is it. No, yung paraxial mesoderm, yung medyo makapal. From here, no, yan siya. Hindi ba lang natin yung drawing, pero yan pa rin yan. The one in the middle, no, would be your intermediate mesoderm. Intermediate mesoderm. While the one, yung pinaka-lateral, no, the thin layer here would be your lateral mesoderm. Okay, lateral mesoderm. Okay. So, ano ba yung meron dito? Okay. In your paraaxial, alright, we have your head and somite. Okay. The somites, yung parang bilog-bilog. Balik natin ng konti. Ayan. This one. Ayan. Okay. Mga bilog-bilog dyan. Alright. Those are somites. Okay. I think we have a picture here, pero di kasi ako sure. Okay. For your paraaxial mesoderm, no, we have what we call your somatomeres. And later on, as they further develop, it will become somites. No? Ang kinaibahan lang, medyo mas lumaki and mas nag-mature yung ng konti, no, yung structure. It will give rise to the following. No? Your paraaxial mesoderm will give rise to myotome, okay, for your muscle tissue. Your sclerotome, cartilage and bone. And then dermatome. Okay, dermis of the skin. Okay, if you're going to, this is not the pure description of what myotome, sclerotome, dermatome is. No? As you proceed to third year or as you read the MAGI or your other PT books, no, myotome is what we term to a certain group of muscles. Okay, that is supplied by one nerve. Okay, supplied by one nerve. Yun tawag natin. Sclerotome naman, ito naman yung area of the cartilage and bone supplied by one nerve. Okay, while the dermatome, alright, the dermatome naman, it pertains naman to skin, no? An area of the skin supplied by one nerve. Okay. So, later on, no, mas ma-explore nyo pa yan. Your advanced PT subjects. Now, let's go to the intermediate mesoderm. Intermediate naman, no, it will form excretory units of the urinary system and the gonads develop from this segment. Okay? Your intermediate, no, again, no, siya yung nagko-connect kay paraaxial and lateral mesoderm. No, ito. Yan, yan nasa gitna. Okay? It will form your kidney and gonads. Alright? Kidney and gonads. Naalala pa si gonads, di ba? Ito yung mga testes, ovaries. Okay? Yan. Finally would be your lateral mesoderm. We have two layers for the lateral mesoderm. This is your parietal and your visceral layer. Okay? So, diba, this is your ecto, this is your mesoderm, this is the endoderm. Alright? So, once na nagkaroon, naging ganito na siya, meron ka ng neural tube. Alright? Meron ka nitong paraaxial, intermediate. Your lateral mesoderm would have two layers, your parietal layer and the visceral layer. Okay? May mga nalilitong students dyan, no, with the visceral and parietal layer. Ano ba kasi yan, no? Your visceral layer would be the inner layer, while the parietal layer would be the outer layer. Alright? Yan siya. No, siguro, para matandaan nyo na lang, visceral layer. When we say viscera, we pertain to organs. No? So, visceral layer, no, mas inner siya. Okay? Kasi pang internal organ siya. Okay, yun yung palatandaan ko. Okay, kaya mas inner when we term visceral layer. Alright? Ayan. Your parietal layer will form the dermis of the skin, body wall and limbs, the bones and the connective tissue of limbs. It would form the lateral body wall folds. It would form the parietal layer of serous membranes. Okay? Yan. So, yan yung mga mafo-form niya. Alright? So, yung mga outer coverings of the heart, outer coverings of the other internal organs, no? Yun yung sa parietal layer ng mesoderm ninyo. Okay? Visceral layer, on the other hand, would form the wall of the gut tube. So, we have foregut, midgut, and hindgut. Okay? Yeah. Okay. The body cavity, okay, on the other hand, is the space between the parietal and visceral layer of the lateral plate mesoderm. No, that's what we call your body cavity. Later on, as we further develop, no, it will become bigger, no, to house the developing internal organs. The diaphragm, no, has a very specific role. No, it will divide yung inyong thoracic and peritoneal cavities. Alright? It will divide the organs for your thorax, okay, and the abdominal organs. No, meron pa tayong tinatawag na, hindi siya yung one whole anterior trunk. Okay, kung maalala ninyo. We have something for the thorax, above, no, that's above the diaphragm, and below the diaphragm would be the abdominal organs. That would be your liver, your stomach, intestines, yung mga yan. The thoracic cavity naman will divided into pericardial cavity and two pleural cavities, no? Diba, the diaphragm would set the organs, no, above and below, while the thoracic cavity naman, no, it is automatically above the diaphragm. Alright? Ang cavity naman niya mismo, no, would be, yun nga, yung tinatawag nating pericardial cavity, wherein doon mag-grow into yung heart. And then, two pleural cavities where our lungs will be found later on. Okay? Ayan. So, itong body cavity, almost sabay lang yan yung mga yan na develop, no? This is initiated around 21 days, no, in the lateral plate mesoderm. So other structures formed from mesodermal layer would be your vascular system, heart, arteries, veins, urogenital system, kidneys, gonads, and their ducts, spleen, suprarenal glands. Okay? Next would be the derivatives of the endoderm. Okay? Doon naman tayo sa endoderm. Yung lower layer. Okay? In your endoderm, we have the gut tube. We have three regions, fore, mid, and hindgut. The structures formed from the endodermal layer would be the GIT, right? Or gastrointestinal tract, your epithelial lining of the GIT, the respiratory tract, and the urinary bladder. So, pag medyo mabilis, pwede nyo siyang i-pause para ma-take note nyo yung mga structures na to. Epithelial lining of tympanic cavity and auditory tube. Parenchyma of the thyroid, parathyroid, liver, and finally, pancreas. Okay? So, those are the structures formed from the endodermal layer. Let's go to the birth defect. No? What if may abnormal development? First, we have the anencephaly. This is a neural tube defect due to the failed closure of the cranial region. Again, no, nagko-close ang ating cranial region by day. You should be able to answer it by now, no? Day 25, no? In here, brain failed to form properly. Okay? Kaya ganito yung itsura niya. Alright? Ayan. Obviously, they have learning difficulties. Okay, yan. Anencephaly. Next, we have the spina bifida. This is also a neural tube defect due to failed closure naman ng caudal region. Okay, caudal region, yung baba naman. And that closes by day, yan, dapat kaya nyo nang i-answer, day 28. Okay? Most common site is lumbosacral region. Yan, ganyan yung itsura niya. no? 'Di ba kung mahilig kayo manood ng mga ano dati, I'm not sure kung ganun pa rin sa time ninyo. 'Di ba meron yung mga babies na merong defect? Sa Channel 7, meron silang parang charity segment doon. Yung wish ko lang. Okay, so I'm not sure kung meron pa rin nun. Hindi na ako nanonood ng TV. But, yun, no? May mga humihingi ng tulong sa kanila, tapos they try to extend help, no? So, doon medyo may kita nyo yung mga batang merong birth defects, no? So, isa to sa common, spina bifida. Alright? And ganito yung itsura niya sa MRI. No? Actually, we have 3 types of spina bifida. Pero, sa third year na yon, no? Sa third year nyo na yon aralin. The 3 types of spina bifida. For now, at least you know that if there is a failed closure of the caudal region, no, it could result to spina bifida. Alright? Yan yung nangyayari. Okay? Next. Ehrlich-George syndrome. And this is also known as your catch-22 syndrome. This is an abnormality of the migration of the neural crest cells, okay, into the pharyngeal arches that can lead to improper development of the parathyroid glands, thymus, facial skeleton, heart, aorta, and pulmonary trunk. Okay, so knowing that these glands are affected, you could have the signs and symptoms could vary, no? But they are more likely to suffer from the following. Okay, hypocalcemia, okay, cleft palate, ayan, ganito yung itsura. Okay, tetralogy of Fallot, yun yung when we say tetralogy of Fallot, ito yung may problem with the heart, aorta, okay, pulmonary trunk. Yan. Alright, no? So, when we see tetralogy of Fallot, nilagyan ko na siya ng picture. Tetralogy meaning 4. Alright? Yung 4 na yon, no? You have ventricular septal defect. Okay? Wait lang. Hindi tayo na. Ventricular septal defect. Okay? Actually, para siyang domino effect. No? You have ventricular septal defect, meaning, instead of closed sana ito, alright, this is what we call your septum, right? So, there should not be any hole dito para hindi mag-communicate ang left and right ventricle mo. But because you have ventricular septal defect, alright, you have also the misplaced aorta, meaning, meron ding meron ding nakaka-escape coming from the right ventricle, no, palabas ng aorta. Okay, in which, no, hindi siya magiging maganda, no, sa bata because ang mangyayari niyan, alright, to overcome the pressure needed to open the aorta, just because you already have an open right ventricle here, no? Yan. So, it would result to a thickened muscle, or what we call your hypertrophy of the right ventricle. No? Right ventricle. And then, we would also have a pulmonary stenosis. Ibig sabihin, medyo tumitigas, no? Yung kanyang pulmonary trunk. Alright? Or the pulmonary artery. Okay? Ayan po. No? So, parang medyo domino effect yung dating niya. So, that's your tetralogy of Fallot. Automatic yan. No? Magkakasama yan pag sinabi mong tetralogy of Fallot. So, you can find that in the George syndrome. Okay? Next. Aside from that, no, the patient could also suffer from recurrent infection and then renal problems. You also have learning problems here. Ayan, no? Learning problems. Okay, next, your gastroschisis. Okay? Gastroschisis naman, no, occurs when body wall closure fails in the abdominal region. Okay? We also have intestinal loops herniate into the amniotic cavity through the defect which usually lies to the right of umbilicus. Okay? So, yan yung tinatawag nating gastroschisis. Ba't parang naglalag yung laptop ko? Okay? So, that's your gastroschisis. No, it occurs when body wall closure fails in the abdominal region. Okay? Yung body wall yung nag-fail. And then, yung intestinal mo, no? Intestinal loops herniate into the amniotic cavity. Okay? Nag-herniate through the, amniotic cavity. Okay? You also have what we call your congenital diaphragmatic hernia. This is caused by the failure of one or both pleuroperitoneal membranes to close. No? Diba sabi natin, yung diaphragm, alright? Yung diaphragm, siya yung magsiseparate ng thoracic, your organs in the thorax versus the organs, no, sa inyong abdominal area. Okay? So here, peritoneal and pleural cavities are continuous along the posterior body wall. Okay? Along the posterior body wall. This hernia also allows abdominal viscera to enter pleural cavity, no? Usually on the left, katulad dito. This is your diaphragm. Okay? Dapat intact yan. But because there's herniation, when we say herniation, parang leak. Alright? So, the viscera, no? Sumuot sila dito sa left side kasi usually nasa left side yung may tama. Okay, so umangat, no, yung bowel, the liver, okay, yung a little bit of the stomach, ayan, tapos nauusod pa left, nauusod pa right, okay, yung heart and then yung lungs, no, medyo nako-compress. So that's your congenital diaphragmatic hernia. Okay, you also have what we call your esophageal hernia. No? In here naman, the upper portion of the stomach are retained in the thorax and the stomach is considered at the level of the diaphragm. No? Ibig sabihin po, no, instead na this is the normal one, this is your esophagus. By the time that it crosses the diaphragm, no, dapat yun na yung sa stomach part. But what happens is that in your esophageal hernia, no, this is your diaphragm. Alright? And then, may part of the stomach na nandito sa above the diaphragm. Okay? So, that's what we call your esophageal hernia naman. Okay? Or what we call your hiatal hernia. Okay? Hiatal hernia. Okay? Kasi dapat ito nasa baba ng diaphragm. Okay? Alright? So, actually, marami pang ibang may encounter na birth defects, but this would be, I think, one of the common ones and might be asked in your board exam. Okay? So, please review. And then, our quiz for this one, no, would be i-announce ko na lang kung paano yung magiging mechanics niya. Okay? Wala tayo muna yung quiz na yung sa Moodle. Okay? Sige. So, these are my references. Okay? And that would be the end of the lecture. Okay? Thank you.